Hi, and welcome to the Sit Down with Suzanne podcast. I am your host, Suzanne.
Bum, 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 positively Susan, positively Susan, ba ba bum 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 ba bum ba da da dum, ba 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 positively Susan.
Okay, welcome to the show. I am very, very excited about today's show. I'm going to be talking about something that I've discussed on several occasions with family members, with friends, with people that I counsel, peers. It's just a conversation that I feel that it's worth having. And I am actually going to do another show where I have guests where I'm discussing it. But I wanted to talk about it. The show is called Sit Down with Suzanne, and I am sitting down and I am Suzanne and I am discussing topic. But I can't wait for 2020 when I'm able to actually have the conversations with the guests that I've invited to the show and we can sit down. And I'm actually thinking of videotaping them, and I might put them on my YouTube channel. I'm not sure yet, but anyway, so it's a topic that is very dear to my heart, and I'm going to be talking about in a minute. But thank you guys so much for subscribing. As the viewership, or I should say, the listenership. Increases every week. I am ever so grateful. I am ever so humbled, and I am just thankful to God for every opportunity that He's given me, and if this podcast has helped you in any way, I appreciate your feedback. So thank you for that. So I said that I was going to be answering questions for you guys. And I might not get a chance to do it every week, but I promise you I will do my best and I will follow up it via email, or if it's a phone call or something like that that you desire, I can certainly follow up with that. So the question I'm going to choose this week is I like this one. What is your favorite things about the holiday? Well, the holiday season's coming up and I work in retail. I don't know if you've ever worked retail. I've been in retail management for going on over 20 years now. Retail is intense. It's insane. But it's my favorite time of the year to work. There's so much people to interact with. You hire so many people, you get a chance to just meet and talk and connect, and it's just outstanding. I don't know if you know this, but I love people. I love everybody, and I have no challenges talking to people. And that's what the retail holiday does for me. I get a chance to meet people and do different things. And I'm telling you, it will stretch you beyond your physical limit because the early mornings, the late night, the additional freight, the call outs, the customers, just everything. But I love it all. I really, really do. So, what is my favorite things about the holiday? So, my favorite thing about the holiday is my family tradition. So you know that I'm a child of God and my faith is so important to me. So the holiday season's always been meaningful to me in terms that it's a time to think about and talk about Christ and celebrate Christ. And to me, Christ is all about love and family. So with my two little girls, it's not about gifts because we don't do a lot of gifts, which is great. They'll get a big gift and a couple of little gifts, and all right. I was going to tell my secret, but I forget that my kids listen to the show. So I cannot share my secret of how I get gifts for the girls or what I do for gifts for the girl and make it meaningful. So I won't do that because then they'll know. But anyway, maybe I'll share it one day on my social media pages because they're too young to have social media. But just my favorite thing is just the family traditions, the things that we do together. Starting from the big production we do with putting up the Christmas tree. It's a family event. There's hot chocolate, there's popcorns, there's decorating, and we each do our own piece, which we love. I don't do the Christmas tree. My husband's better. The kids want to do it, so there's a lot of people who want to do it. But I like the decor piece, the pillows on the couch, the drapes, the little things around the house, the place setting in the kitchen. I love a beautifully set table. So, okay, I'm like waxing nostalgic about these things. But anyway, so I love those pieces. Just decorating as a family. We don't do Christmas shopping together because the mall's insane and I know that. So I won't go to the mall, especially with kids this close. But here's a little tip. Early morning, the retail stores open like 7, 8, 9 o'clock. Nobody's there at that time. That is the best time to shop. Now everybody's gonna go there and then it's gonna be busy, but it's the best time to shop. So I normally just pick a day and I'll go and I'll create a list, but I don't go extravagant because I'll think of things even when I have a list and I'll think of something else because I like to give thoughtful and meaningful gifts. And then another tradition that we do, so on Christmas Eve, we dress up in ugly sweaters, we watch family movies, and we play games. And last year, I bought a beautiful, larger than life Monopoly set. So we're going to be playing that this year. We're going to open the kids are like, it's been a year, almost a year, and I haven't opened it, but I told them no. They lost the pieces for the original Monopoly. And my kids, they get so competitive when it comes to Monopoly. They are brutal. And my 6 year old, she doesn't play. She buys a park place and all that, and she charges you. Like this girl is going to be a real estate mogul. I'm telling you, you got to pay that girl to go buy her. So yeah, that's one of my favorite things. And then on Christmas morning, so here's my family Christmas morning. The gift is not first. The gift is literally the last thing that we do. So we get up, and we are in our matching pajamas, of course. So we get up and I do the whole big family breakfast. So I do the homemade waffles and whipped cream and strawberries and hot chocolate. And I set the table and I do the teapot and the little creamer and the saucer and all of that on the table. And we have a really nice breakfast. And then we do our family photo shoot because, you got to take pictures, right? Oh my goodness, I have pictures. Then we do the family photo shoots. And then after the family photo shoot, then we'll open present. One year we actually did movies and lunch and all that before we do the present because I want the presents to be the least significant thing about Christmas for the girls. So that's what I do. And that is a very long way to say my favorite thing about Christmas is the traditions, the things that I do as a family. It's going to church on Christmas Sunday and doing the Christmas play or the Christmas program. It's seeing all these people that you haven't seen in a while. It's the texts, it's the greeting. It just really is about the connection for me. I adore people. I like having conversations. So I mean, one of my episode was like called "I've Never Met a Stranger," and that's true. I will talk, I will sing, I will dance. I'll just have a good time. So anyway, favorite thing about Christmas: celebrating Christ and celebrating family, celebrating love, meeting people, meeting having great connections. So the topic of this podcast is called Not Black Enough. What does that mean? So, I am an African American female. I was born and raised in Jamaica, and I came to the States in my late teen, and I attended high school here. When I came to America, I did not have an accent. And it wasn't something that I tried to lose. It wasn't something that I deliberately set out to say I didn't have. Actually, from the first day I got to the airport, a family member remarked on the fact that I didn't have an accent. I honestly didn't notice it when I was in Jamaica. My parents had come to the States, them come a foreign from Jamaica. You come a foreign, right? My parents them come a foreign from Pitney. So, they were in America and well, my mom was in Canada before she came to America. And I lived with various family members, but I always went to school. I did different things in school. I did debate and things like that. And we speak English in Jamaica. So, yes, we have patois, but we speak English. So, I've always spoken well, just never paid attention to it when I was there. Nobody remarked on it because everybody I knew spoke well. But anyway, so when I came to America and then when I started high school here, it was strange because everybody expected me to have an accent and I didn't. And there was these two guys that made my life miserable in high schools because they would tease me all the time and say, "Oh, she a fake Jamaican. She doesn't have an accent," and all of that. And I was a little obsessed with getting straight A's at one point, and all right, that hasn't changed. But I used to, do all my work. I'd raise my hands. I would, give all the answers and things like that. Oh, they made it terrible. But anyway, long story short, they are in different places in their life right now, and so am I. So I dealt with that as a teen, and they would make fun of me and says that I talked white and I acted white, and there was just all these things that they felt that didn't make me black enough and didn't make me Jamaican enough. And I remember, when I was a teen, I would try to defend myself a lot. I mean, so, what do you mean I'm not black enough? And I never tried to change who I was because I was who I was and I didn't know how to be any different. But it was very hurtful. And I even had friends who felt the same way. They would say that about me. And they was like, "Oh, why you not talk Jamaican?" And I'm like, "What do you mean?" Like, I felt that I was talking the way that I always talked. And, it was really, really rough. And I'm so grateful that I had like a strong inner core at the time because I don't know how I held it together. So they would constantly say, "I'm not black enough. I don't act Jamaican enough. I don't talk black enough. I don't talk Jamaican enough." And I remember I had a friend that she would tease me about it all the time. And I remember saying to her, like, who says that? What do you mean by that? Because it's you who's putting me down. It's not others. So you're saying that people are going to think I'm not black enough or I don't talk black enough. But what are you saying? That black people can't be intelligent? Black people can't be articulate? Black people can't, be well spoken? And, she was like, nah, she just didn't get it. And it used to frustrate me a lot because I saw other black people that I admired that spoke well, that were articulate, that had great job, that were going after their goals and their dreams. They were, and I I love that because I didn't think there was any one way to be black. I didn't think there was any one way that black spokes, and I just didn't understand it. And just imagine coming from a foreign country and coming to a different country out of your element, move to the States. And not only did I move to the States, I moved to Massachusetts, okay? Cold. Jamaica, Massachusetts. All right. Holy moly. It was just the temperature difference was, oh, yeah, so that was painful enough, and just dealing with the different culture and things like that, and then just being accused of these things, it was such a culture shock too, because like where I came from in Jamaica, I addressed every adult by, with a Mr. or Mistress. And when I came to America, you called adults by their first name, and things like that. So that was very strange. It was a culture shock, and then dealing with that. So I felt alone a lot because I didn't know where I fit in, because I wasn't white and I didn't try to fit in with the white kids because I didn't know them. It was the first time that I had Caucasian classmates and peers and things like that. I mean, I'd seen them, in my country, but it wasn't, I didn't interact with the race every day. I didn't go to class with them and school with them, and and all of that. And there was Spanish. Also, I wasn't Spanish. I wasn't white. I was black, but they were telling me that I wasn't black enough. So where did I fit in? And luckily, I read a lot, so I was able to do a lot of reading, and it brought me comfort and it brought me solace. But I was very hurt by that because I just didn't understand why the fact that I love to read, or the fact that I spoke a certain way, or the fact that I got all A's made me, not black enough. And the funny thing is where I came from in Jamaica, like I knew lots and lots of people like that. Now, I'm not saying that there's not crazy, like it right in my family, there's folks that, didn't go to school, them a dancehall queen and things like that. And I love them. But I also know other people that were going to school, that were getting good grades, that were getting their subjects. So we call in Jamaica, getting their subjects and doing very well, academically, professionally, in their personal life. But here I am being accused of not being black enough, as if I was ashamed of who I am, as if I was ashamed of being black. And, the ironic thing was, I loved everything about being black. I was very, very dark skinned. So it's not like I could hide, and I never pretended, but it hurt a lot to go through that. And, as I got older, I had to kind of toughen my skin and toughen my resolve. And even to this day, in my 20s, in my 30s, sometimes I'll meet people and they'll say, the same thing, you know, oh, you talk so white or you act so white. And I just don't get it because it's not who I am. And then, like I said, I used to defend myself and I would get upset. But then one day I just stopped. I simply didn't care what they thought. And when somebody gets to that place, it is a beautiful place, but it's a dangerous place for people who thrive on putting people down, for people who thrive on bullying others. And I just got to that point and I'm like, yep, nope, that's it. I'm done. Whatever. Think what you want to think. You think I'm not black enough? Okay. You think I talk white? Okay. Whatever. I don't care. You're not going where I'm trying to go. And as I got older, I cared less about what others thought, but I was very just discouraged by the fact that I was being accused of these things. And mind you, I mean, it was by my own race. It was by people that I was, well, I wouldn't call them friends because clearly they were not, but people that I was related to and things like that. And then, you'd see the all knowing eyes, or, I'd leave a message on my voicemail and then they'll be like, which white woman that on your phone, what white lady is that on your phone and things like that. So to be so proud of your heritage and everything and who you are, and then to just be accused of not being black enough. And then I started to be very, like I said, I didn't defend myself, but I made sure that I never let anybody feel that they weren't black enough, that they weren't representing the race because of their goals and their dreams. And I met people from many classes of life, from the ghettos to people that are more intelligent than I would ever dream of being. And, I spoke to them, I connected with them, and I talked to them. But I mean, honestly, sometimes, even in my 20s, I didn't know where I fit in because I never tried to be somebody else, but I wasn't this with this group and I wasn't with that group. And the funny thing is, I wasn't mixed. So it's not like I was half black or half white where I was, confused about my identity. I was black, I was proud of it, but here these, people were accusing me of not being black enough. So I just stopped caring what they thought. And it was one of the best decisions for me. And then I just started living my life and then just meeting other people who, um, didn't care. They just talked to me and loved me for being me and encouraged me for being me. But here's my question: what does that mean? Somebody is not black enough. Somebody is a sellout. Somebody's acting white. Somebody's talking white. Do you know how hurtful that is? Do you know how painful that is? And it took me years to get over that. And it took me years to get to the point where it didn't impact me. But I am going to challenge you. Every time you think about saying that to someone, stop and think, what are they doing that you think they're not black enough? What are they doing that you think that, they talk a certain way? I mean, who are you listening to? Who are you watching? Okay, I'm not the biggest rap fan. I don't really, because I mean, hey, I don't really have time. And most of the times I am listening to gospel music, but I appreciate rap and I appreciate, the culture and things like that. And I actually went to Atlanta this year and it was outstanding. I actually went to places that I hadn't been before and I met so many different people. And I will say that the women in Atlanta, I've got to give them their props. They have the longest eyelashes I have ever seen in my entire life. I was at the Coca-Cola Museum and I saw this young lady walk by with these lashes. I swear, I just I had to stop in the middle of my tracks and stare at her. They were just that long and fabulous. So I don't judge anybody. Like you live your life. I can appreciate, I can go to the clubs and things like that and appreciate every single thing about the black culture from rap to R&B. And I see that. I appreciate that. I can appreciate Nipsey Hussle, may he rest in peace. And then I see other people that I admire, like Angela Rye, who is just fierce and fabulous and just everything about her. She's beautiful, she's intelligent, and oh my goodness, do not get on a debate stage with that girl if you don't have all your facts because she will put you in your place. And there's Oprah, there's Gail, there's Soldat, there's Kamala the other day that just ran for president. There's Michelle Obama, there's Valerie Jarrett. There is just so many incredible black women. Okay, and I didn't mention any men. There was Barack Obama who was president. There's Stedman Graham. There is so many incredible black people who just they're doing amazing stuff. And I think we limit ourselves, we cheat ourselves when we accuse somebody of not being black enough, when we accuse somebody of not talking black, of acting white. Because yes, you can act a certain way and honor your culture and whatever, but it's not doing a discredit to your culture if you are genuinely being you. And just like how you can appreciate, look at where Jay-Z came from to where he is now, and his rap is hardcore. And he came from a certain place and that shaped him and made him, and that influenced, his rap and where he is now. So the places that he's able to go. He was able to go to the palace, things like that. Like people that he've been, able to meet, influential people that have done incredible, amazing things. And I can't think of all of them, right now, because it's not all of them that's in the entertainment industry. There is women in tech, there's men in tech, there's men and women who have invented great things that are African Americans, that are black, that some are Caribbean. There's Serena Williams, there's Simone Biles. I mean, there's just so much. I have a niece who's a great gymnast, and I'm going to see her on the Olympic stage one day. And my kids, they love to play tennis, and I have them watch the US Open with Venus and Serena because I want them to see that. I want them to see other aspect. So there is not just one way to be black. And I know I got passionate about this because, like I said, I lived it for so long. I was so hurt by it, and I'm grateful every day that it did not destroy me. I'm grateful every day that I was able to go strong because of it. But there is some little boy or girl out there that may not be able to survive it. So I'm going to ask you, every single time you think about saying that to someone, know that there's no one way to be black. You could be natural, you could wear your braids, your weave, your wig, whatever you do as a black woman, celebrate you. As a black man, celebrate you. There's no one way to talk, to speak if you're black. There's things that I don't understand. Um, and in order to grow, you have to learn. But I never want somebody to accuse my kids of acting white or not black enough, because I want them to know that there is no limit, because the world society placed so much limit on them as black women for such a long time, and now the entire world is open to them, and I don't want anybody bringing that to them to say they're acting white or they're talking white just because they don't fit your idea of blackness. What I will say to you is expand your circle. My pastor always says, if you're the smartest one in your circle, you need to leave that circle. You need to grow your circle. And that is my goal. I need to grow. I need to expand. I need to elevate. I need to be around people who know more than me, who know more than, so that I can learn from them and I can absorb and I can grow. Doesn't mean that I've forgotten my root. Doesn't mean that I can still, sit outside with my brothers. I remember there was these things called teeny juice. Okay, it was pure sugar, and Lord help me, but I still drink teeny juice. But that doesn't mean that I can't enjoy a mimosa, whatever it is. There's not just one level to be. And I want you, every time you're thinking about accusing that somebody, like I said, expand and don't go on social media. All right, because you will continue to see the things that you follow. Those are the things that you'll see. But read about incredible things that Blacks have contributed to society and what they're doing. So every single time you say that, it insults you, it insults me, and it insults your race. That's so much they have done. There's so many great people. Look at Dr. King, what he stood for, who he was in a time when it was not his time, in a time that no men looked or spoke like him. And look at what he did. Look at his legacy today. Look at Malcolm X. You may not agree with some of his beliefs and some of his stance, but he was the truth. Frederick Douglass. There were so many incredible people in our race, and all I'm asking you to do is to look outside your circle. And if the people that you see, whether it's a kid in school, and I hope there are some teenagers listening to this, because you may be raised one way at home and you go to school and a child is being raised differently. Don't bully and accuse that child of not being, and you don't want them to think just because. There's no one way to be black. I was born in Jamaica. I spent most of my years now in America. I am Jamaican. I'm an American citizen. I am African American. I'm black. I am female. I love everything about me. I like reading. I like the English language. I like gospel music. I like the theater. But I like fried chicken. So what does that mean? Okay, some of you will get the fried chicken reference. I'm just saying. I am not one thing. I am a great many things. I am growing. I am evolving. And that's what I want for you also. I want you to grow. I want you to evolve. I want you to expand. I want you to increase your circle. I don't want you to limit yourself. Can you imagine if, let's put people, like if Barack Obama, Michelle Obama, Jay-Z, Beyonce, Oprah, Gail, and all those people had placed limits on themselves, like Mae Jemison, the female astronaut, if they had placed limits on themselves and says, well, no black folk has ever done this, so I'm not going to do it. No. So stop placing limit on yourself. Stop placing limit on others, and stop accusing people of doing that. Now, I don't hear it that much anymore, but I do still hear it. Some family members, I know they think that they're doing it out of love, and they'll tease me and, how you so white, or, you just, and because I am who I am, I speak the way I speak. I have certain financial goals, and I'm not modeling my life after anybody, but I see great people achieve amazing things, and that's what I'm looking for. That is what I'm showing my kids, how successful they can be, that there is no limits. So stop placing a limit on me. Stop placing a limit on yourself. Stop placing a limit on others. There is no one way to be Black. Everything about you, everything about me, everything about us is beautiful. And it breaks my heart when I hear people say that. And it breaks my heart when they say I speak a certain way. I do it. I can't help it. I went to a conference earlier in my career. I was a district manager at a company, and I went to a conference, and I remember speaking at the conference, and I spoke up, and then everybody was saying to me, you're so articulate. And the funny thing was, I was very offended by it, because the way they kept saying articulate, as if they were shocked, as if they wanted, I don't know what they thought I was going to sound like, but they just kept saying, wow, you're so articulate. And I'm thinking, and then at one point I said, as opposed to what? What was I supposed to sound like? And that's what I'm saying to you. Don't place any limit on anybody. Be you, be yourself, because I guarantee you there's somebody who wants to take up theater. There's somebody who wants to play the piano. Hey, Alicia Keys, Stevie Wonder, right? There's somebody who wants to play tennis, Venus and Serena. There's somebody who wants to do gym, Simone Biles. There's somebody who wants to write a book, Michelle Obama. There's somebody who wants to be President Barack Obama. There's somebody who wants to be a media mogul, Oprah Winfrey. There's somebody who wants to come from the street and rise up, be a billionaire, Jay-Z. There's somebody who wants to follow their dream, and be a great entertainer, Beyonce. There's somebody who wants to be an astronaut, Mae Jemison. There's all these people that have accomplished amazing thing because they allowed nobody to tell them there's any one way to be Black. They allowed no one to tell them that they can't go after something because it hasn't been done before. So I got very passionate, and now I'm definitely going to need a drink of water, because I do want to talk about this topic. So I'm going to invite you to send me, your questions and your concerns. I'm going to see if I can work up a panel to sit down and talk about this. Why it's so important that we have these conversations with our kid. If there's a kid in braids and there's a kid in natural, one's not blacker than the other. They're both Black girls. Things like that. Teach them that. Just because somebody is natural doesn't make them more Black than somebody who chooses to do a weave. Celebrate both. And as for me, I'm going to go natural. I'm going to go weave, braids, everything, because I love everything about my culture. And from the good, the bad, and the in between. And we are capable of incredible, amazing things. And that's what I want you to see. That's what I want you to celebrate. So, that phrase, Black excellence, Black girl magic, I'm always throwing it around. Do your thing. Go, queen. Celebrate you. Holla, bless up, whatever. However you celebrate somebody. However, remember that fist bump that Michelle Obama gave Barack Obama? Oh, powerful. Powerful, powerful, powerful. However you celebrate your culture, continue to do it. Don't be ashamed, and don't let somebody else feel ashamed because they're doing it differently. We love everything about ourselves. Let's show that. Let's celebrate that. And until next time, this is Suzanne saying, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I hope it will push you to have the conversation. And for my Caucasian listeners, thank you for listening. I want you to also open up and have this conversation, because sometimes, it is you have African Americans in your family and you don't realize that it's a conversation that needs to be had. All right, I know I said I'm ending, and you should know by now. So, couple months ago, when Kerry Washington did the play on Broadway, American Son, I genuinely wanted to see this play. It was about an African American woman who was married to a white man. All right, maybe I shouldn't give it because it's on Netflix. But anyway, Long story short, there was an issue with her son, and I wanted to see it. And I had told my sister I was going to go to Broadway to see this play. I had to. I mean, I'm a gladiator, right? So I had to see that. Um, got the tickets, went to New York, and actually my brother came with me at the last minute, and it was everything I thought it was going to be. And I did meet some of the actors after I have their autograph and everything. Yay, love that. It was everything that I thought it would be. It was powerful. It was thought provoking. It gave you questions, some of the things that the beliefs that you went in there in with, it kind of made you think and question it a little. But one of the most powerful moments came for me after the show had ended and I was leaving the theater, and there was this lady, this Caucasian lady, this white lady behind me, and she was crying. And I admit I was crying. I mean, the ending, the show, it was powerful. And you were moved to tears, and this lady, she was crying behind me, and I said to her, I know it was just outstanding, and she said, I am so glad. And I don't remember where she came from to see the play. She said, I am so glad I came to see this play because I am white and my son's father is black, and he is a black kid, and I'm a white woman, and I don't know how to raise a black kid. I don't know how to have a conversation with them about this. And one of the things that they had tackled in the play, they had talked about how to have the conversation with, a mixed kid, that conversation about when you're pulled over by the cops and things like that. And I think I had mentioned, that conversation in a previous episode. And she was just bawling. And I said, she was like, this play was so good because, you know, I can have the conversation. I'm going to have the conversation, and I'll probably never meet her again. I gave her a hug, and, we talked a little bit, and she left. But I am telling you, I know that she was forever changed by that. So have the conversation. So whether you're Caucasian, whether you're black, have the conversation about accusing somebody of not being black enough, of speaking a certain way. And if you ever find yourself saying that about somebody, you need to stop. You need to re examine that, and you need to apologize if it comes out of your mouth. But you need to stop. But until next time, I hope this episode has inspired you to think. I hope this episode has pushed you to somewhere that you need to be. I hope you remain positive that we live in a world that we can only get better every day. There are tons of negative things, but there are amazingly amazing, incredible things that will happen. And until next time, this is Suzanne saying ta ta.